Before the season started, we made a video where I asked you guys to give me a player name and give me a point total, and I'd go through some of them and say if I think the player will get over or under that point total. It was a pretty simple concept, and now with most teams only having about 6 or 7 games left in their schedule, the season is winding down. I figured it would be fun to look back at my preseason over-under predictions for players and kind of see how they're looking right now, see which ones I got right, see which ones I'm not going to get right. You guys always seem to show a ton of support on these videos where I look back at my predictions, so if there's any other videos on the channel that you want to see me go back and look at and see how my predictions panned out, then be sure to let me know down below in the comments. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. The first one came from Jacob, who said Dylan Larkin 65 points. I doubted one of my favorite players in the league. I said he would get under 65. My reasoning for that is because last season Detroit played some really boring low event style of hockey just so they could keep themselves in games. They sacrificed offense so that they could keep themselves in games, keep themselves within striking distance. I said in that video that I didn't think anybody on the Red Wings would get 65 plus this season, so I was kind of close in saying that because Larkin is the only one to break that mark. He's got 69 in 71 games, so I did get this one wrong, but I mean, he's the captain of my favorite team, so this is one that, you know, I'm happy I got wrong. The next over-under from that video, this one came from Haymaker, and it was actually a team total, not a player total. Haymaker said Sabres without Eichel over under 60 points. I actually went with the over on this one. My reasoning was that sometimes when teams, you know, lose a star player or have a star player request a trade or leave in free agency, those teams kind of use that as motivation and become better off from it. We saw that happen with the New York Islanders when John Tavares left. They made it to back-to-back conference finals, and I didn't think that that would happen with the Buffalo Sabres to that extent. Like, I didn't expect them to make conference finals or anything like that. I didn't even think they were going to make the playoffs, but I did think that they weren't going to be completely awful, and that's kind of exactly what has happened. Buffalo is not one of the worst 5 teams in the NHL this season. They've hit this over pretty easily. They're already at 69 points with 4 games left in their season. In a season that a lot of people figured would just be doom and gloom for the Buffalo Sabres, they've had a lot of bright spots this year. Alex Tuck has came over and played well after the Jack Eichel trade. Same with Peyton Krebs. Obviously, Tage Thompson is one of the bigger breakout stars this year. There's a good amount of positives that you can take away from this season if you're a Sabres fan, and I think they have a pretty bright future, all things considered. The next one we have came from Tripe, who said Victor Arvidsson 30 goals. I took the over on this one. Kind of stings a little bit because he's missed a good amount of time this season due to injury. He has 20 goals in 62 games. I feel like if he were to play in all 82, there's a good chance he would have reached 30 goals this year. I've always been a pretty big fan of Victor Arvidsson. I think he's one of the sneakier goal scorers in the league. Back in 2018-19, he had 34 in just 58 games. He was one of the league leaders that season in terms of goals per game. He's not going to break 30 goals this season, but I don't think it was a bad guess. I mean, when he's been in the lineup, he's been a real solid contributor for the Kings. Moving on now, the next one we had came from Eliminator, who said Cole Caufield over under 30 goals. I took the under on this one. My reasoning in the video was, I think I said I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Caufield does score 30 with the skill set that he has, the incredible shot that he has, his quick release. But when it comes to rookies, you know, coming into the NHL, I like to keep my expectations relatively low because, I mean, most of the times these guys are teenagers. They're going to take a little bit to, you know, adapt to the NHL game. And that definitely happened with Cole Caufield. And also, he had a coach that you could tell he just hated playing for. If Marty St. Louis was the coach for the Habs for the entire season and Caufield wasn't sent down to the AHL, I mean, he's got 18 right now. There's a chance he could have been like around 25, maybe pushing 30. But I did take the under, so this is one that I got right. Not a bad start. We're 2 for 4 so far. Next up, this one came from Habs fan 3197. Seattle top 16 in the league. So basically over under on them making the playoffs or not. I took the under on this, but I did say that I figured they would be like in between 20 and 16, so I didn't expect them to be as bad as they have been. They're sitting 30th overall in the league right now. The only teams with less points are Montreal and Arizona. Seattle has been one of the worst teams in the league for the entire season, so this is another one we got right, but I mean, looking back in hindsight, it would have been pretty difficult to get this one wrong. Continuing on now, the next one came from Josh, who said Laine 40 points. I think he will. New coach, Tort's gone. Hopefully CBJ adds a center. I said over on this one, but again, like in hindsight, this was a really easy one. Obviously, Laine was going to get over 40 points. So I did take the over on this one. I mean, Laine has 40 goal capabilities, so 40 points for him, definitely very achievable. And I can understand why this was a conversation before the season started, because obviously his first year in Columbus, he struggled mightily, but his production has definitely bounced back this season in a big way. He's got 56 points in 56 games. There was like a month stretch where he was one of the most dominant offensive players in the league. So we're 4 for 6 right now, but 2 of them, the Laine one and the Seattle one, were very, very easy looking back at it. So I don't even know if I want to count those. those. This next one came from Brendan, and man, it's another very easy one. Alex Tuck 35 goals, and he said if he could only finish on the 10 breakaways he gets per game. I feel like we can kind of just void this one though, because Alex Tuck missed so much time to start the season when he was still with Vegas. He actually didn't play a single game for them this year. He didn't start playing this year till after the trade to Buffalo, and he even still missed like the first couple games after the trade. He's got just 11 goals in 46 games this season anyway, so even if he did play in all 82, probably wouldn't have been all that close to 35. So I did take the under on this one, another one we got right, but I do feel like Alex Tuck is a guy that has the capability and has the tools to be a 30 plus goal scorer, and if he can stay healthy and play a full 82 with the Sabres next season, and I got asked this question again in the offseason, maybe I'd take the over this time. The next over-under came from Jordan Rosen, who said Kaapo Kakko 50 points. I did take the under on this one, so it's another one that we got correct, but I really thought it was going to be a lot closer than it is. Kaapo Kakko only has 16 points this season in 41 games. He obviously missed a lot of time. You know, it's been a bit of a struggle for him this season to stay in the lineup on a consistent basis. And when that's the case, especially for a young player on a contending team like the Rangers, it's kind of hard to, get in rhythm, stay in a groove for a long period of time. I still have faith that Kaapo Kakko is going to develop into a really solid two-way top six forward who can get you, 55 plus points in a season. I feel like it's just taking a little bit longer than a lot of us expected it to. Next up, this one came from Brader, who said Cale Makar 65 points over under. Again, another one looking back at in hindsight, this was way too low, and I even said that in the video. I think I started off by saying this is way too low. I'm smashing the over, so we got this one right as well. Cale Makar has exceeded 65 points by quite a bit. He's got 83 so far in 72 games. The guy has 26 goals as a defenseman, just an absolute freak of nature. Cale Makar has had an incredible season, and he hit this over pretty easily. The next over-under came from Christian. This was actually the first goaltender one of the video. Andrei Vasilevskiy over under a 925 save percentage. I did take the under on this one. Basically, my reasoning for that was Andrei Vasilevskiy has never finished a season with a above 925 save percentage. He's finished with exactly 925 two different times, but never above, so that was kind of my reasoning for taking the under. And unless Vasilevskiy plays every single game for the Lightning from now till the end of the season and doesn't let in a single goal, it's looking like we're going to get this one right. He's currently rocking a 917 save percentage, which is going to be actually tied for the second lowest save percentage he's put up in a single season. And I mean, it's not that low of a save percentage either. I feel like that just kind of speaks to how insane Vasilevskiy has been throughout his career. The next over under we had came from Frank Yederson. This was another goalie one. Carter Hart over under a 910 save percentage. Obviously, the season before this one, Carter Hart really struggled, was one of the worst starting goaltenders in the National Hockey League, had an 877 save percentage. Myself, and I feel like a lot of other people, fully expected Carter Hart to bounce back and put up much better statistics than an 877 save percentage, and he did, but he still didn't hit this over, and I took the over, so we got this one wrong. Carter Hart currently has a 905 save percentage. Obviously, it doesn't help Carter Hart that the Philadelphia Flyers are completely awful, and their defense all season long has been abysmal, so even though Carter Hart has bounced back compared to last season, he didn't bounce back enough to hit this over, so we got this one wrong. This next one came from Jacob, and it actually hasn't happened yet. The question was Toronto Maple Leafs over under 3.5 playoff wins, so basically, are they going to win a series this year, or are they going to get bounced in the first round again? I took the over on this before the season started, and I feel even more confident about that now. I think if they don't win a series this year, I mean, they're never going to win one, I don't think. They're most likely going to get a tough first round matchup, but man, the Leafs have played the top teams in the Atlantic Division very well this season. They've played Buffalo well, they've played Tampa well, they've played Florida well, except for that one meltdown against the Panthers not too long ago. But most of the Leafs, like, embarrassing games this season have came against some of the bottom feeder teams in the league. They really haven't got the doors blown off by a team that they could match up with in the first round. They just have to win a round this year. They absolutely have to. There's no excuses anymore. You got arguably the best line in hockey, Bunting, Marner, and Matthews. Matthews is probably going to win the Hart Trophy. Marner's been scoring at, like 150 plus point pace since it turned to 2022, something crazy like that. They absolutely have to win a round this year, and I think they're going to. Moving on now to the next one, another Leafs one here. This one came from Danielle, who said Nick Robertson over under 30 points. I unfortunately took the over on this one, and Nick Robertson has a whopping 1 point this year. He spent the majority of the year in the American Hockey League. He's dealt with injuries again this season, which is really unfortunate. My reasoning for taking the over was, I mean, everybody kind of knew that Zach Hyman was most likely going to lead the Leafs in the offseason. This was before Hyman left and before they signed Bunting. So I kind of thought that maybe they would try to fill that Zach Hyman role and put Nick Robertson and give him an opportunity to play in the top six. And I mean, if that happened, I feel like he would have broke 30 points, but obviously it didn't. So unless Nick Robertson gets called up and puts up 30 points in the Leafs like last 5 or 6 games, looking like we're going to get this one wrong. This next over-under came from Juan Jose, who said Sam Bennett over under 50 points. I took the over on this one, and my reasoning for that was just because of how well we saw Sam Bennett fit in with the Florida Panthers after last year's trade deadline. He had 15 points in 10 regular season games with them leading up to the playoffs. So I did take his over, and this one it seems like it's going to come right down to the wire. In 65 games this season, Sam Bennett has 27 goals, 46 total points, so he's 4 away from 50. The Panthers have, I think, 7 games left. If I had to guess, I don't think he does it, but I mean, if he played in more games than 65 this year, he probably would already have 50 plus, but even with him missing as many games as he did, the fact he's still this close is pretty impressive. And now for the final one, this one came from Jonah Craft 7, who said Milan Lucic 10 goals over or under. I took the over, and Lucic has 10 goals in 76 games, so he needs to get one more goal down the stretch here for the Flames to hit this over. If not, worst case scenario, he ties it. Even though Lucic obviously isn't the player that he once was, I feel like it was still a no-brainer to take the over on this one because, I mean, he had 10 goals in 56 games last season, so I figured it would be pretty easy for him to do it again this season in a full 82-game schedule. But that is going to wrap up today's video reacting to my over-under predictions before the NHL season started. I really enjoyed doing these kinds of videos, like I said at the start. If there's any other videos on my channel you want me to go back and look at, be sure to let me know which videos those are down below in the comments. And I would say overall we did pretty well in these over-under predictions. I will say some of them were really easy to, again, looking back on it. I'll try to pick some tougher ones out when we do this before next season starts. If you guys enjoyed today's video, a like would be greatly appreciated, and if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.